understand which is more helpful individually and collectively. So if we look at these texts, or if you look at the teachings that have come down generation after generation, and try to see whether whether those teachings are still reasonable enough for us to practice. That is what teachings are meant for. Because that is what it means to teach, to make things more relatable. Therefore, teachings are certain understandings that help us relate to various situations in life. Teachings are not supposed to be dogmas. Never was our teaching supposed to be dogmatic. How does it become dogmatic? When we subscribe to a very narrow perspective in life, a narrow approach in life. That is what is a dogma. Yeah. So what is being said, what is the intent, is important to understand. So here, just in today's verse, a certain class of people are being addressed, are those who have some distrust, a lot of distrust in the way the other class of people, the other community approaches life. They distrust that. So is it all right for alternative approaches in life? Definitely. However, at the same time, there has to be certain bridges built where people can communicate with each other. It cannot be my way or your way or my way or the highway. It cannot be like that. Yeah. So if we feel that certain teachings have become dogmas, or the approach is very dogmatic, then trying to reject it could also be another dogmatic presentation. That I absolutely reject everything else. Now, this is a new dogma. And therefore, if following teachings is called as, let us say, theism, so they add the word a before that. If it is following teachings is supposed to be belief, then they would add non before that. Both, if those who feel that belief is the only approach to life and they are making that as their dogma in life, then the other parties also, their approach also seems to be dogmatic. Our basis is in rejection of that. So there's nothing fresh being offered. One is trying to put forth their point, the other is trying to reject their point. There's no dialogue happening. There's no reasoning taking place. But why do you stand for this particular approach in life? How is it relatable to us? And why is it that you oppose, and how is it relatable to us? If there's a discussion, then that is helpful. If, however, they take two political stands, opposite political stands, then it creates chaos and confusion. So we are going to approach this verse and the understanding of this verse from the perspective of how does this relate to us individually and collectively, rather than trying to take this verse as stamping a certain community in a certain way. That is not what we want to do. There may be others who want to do that. There's freedom of choice, isn't it? However, we use our freedom of choice to approach this understanding with the idea, how does this seem relatable to me individually and to the people around me and to the world around me? Okay. So, kamam ashritya dushpuram. Dushpuram means pur, technically means a flood, or that which is very immense, huge. Yeah. So if there's a huge, let's say, deluge, and the rivers are all flooded over, all the bridges have kind of been swept away. As frail human beings and even animals, even other than the fishes, I guess, the aquatics, everyone else is sane enough to understand the frailty, and they are like, now's not the time to cross this body of water. It's not a sensible time, because these are raging waters, right? So Puram means a situation like that, and Dushpuram means even if you feel that there's a possibility, if you feel like that, you have not studied the situation appropriately, because it is Dushpuram, means it is impossible to cross over. It is impossible to fulfill that task of going over, going across. Why? Because it's a Pura. Pura means that which is very, very immense, huge, and difficult to tackle, like a flood. So what is a Dushpuram here? So it's an adjective that's being used, right? To describe what? Kamam ashritte. Kamam, desires. The nature of desires is that it constantly keeps flooding your consciousness. Does it happen? Like I desire to buy just an M&M from the store. So I go to the store. Now my desire was just to have that, but seeing the range of goods there, now a flood of desires hit me. Is that true? Now we may feel that, no, I am a self-controlled sage. I go to the store, I know exactly what I want, and I come back with it. Well, maybe we do that, but there is a greater possibility that we have created desires for the future. Greater possibility. Why? Because the nature of the sense objects means that which interact with our senses. Like there are so many chairs here, isn't it? So what does this create within our consciousness? The desire to choose where I want to sit. Every chair will give us two kinds of experiences. One is comfort, certain amount of comfort, and the other is certain amount of discomfort. And consciously or unconsciously, we would be evaluating where is the most comfort available and the least discomfort available for me, consciously or unconsciously. Now, if there were only two chairs here, what would have happened? Then we would have evaluated the floor space. Because if that is where we need to sit, if there are more than two people, then that is how we would have evaluated. Consciously and unconsciously, we would have evaluated the floor space which we would want to occupy. So this is called a desire. Is it bad? Is it good? No, that is how it is. That is our default nature. Either we have to, sometimes we read about past histories where someone was so perturbed by desire that they decided to give up sense perception. They decided to just go into deep meditation, close off their eyes, close off their ears, not hear anything, not see anything, sit down in a dark, dingy place somewhere, cut themselves off from all kinds of communications because they wanted to be very meditative. So we hear of that. Here we are not talking of what are the approaches that people have in life. We are not speaking of that. What we are speaking of is the nature of desires. Kamam ashritya dushpuram. If someone has taken shelter of a life where one lets in whatever desire that comes to us, lets that inside that space, that which we call as our existence, then dushpuram. It will be very difficult to say this is enough. It's very difficult to pull down the shutter. Why? Because that is what desires are about. So there is desire, and one way to try and make sense of our time and energy that we have, try and get some benefit from the time and energy that we have, we bring in the concept of discipline. What is discipline? Discipline is a way to try and streamline desires. Is that true? Now, there could be some precursors for that. Maybe failing health, bad health. Typically, many people become disciplined during, let us say, post-adolescence is because of some health issues. Or it could be relationship issues. True? Some place where we have been hurt. So now discipline. I have given up. I quit this. I quit that. This is what quote unquote is called a straight, being straight in life. Basically, it means that now I'll be disciplined in life. So we choose certain parameters which we accept as this is the range within which I will function, which basically means anything beyond this range is not permitted in my space called as my existence. Okay. So kamam ashritya, if we take shelter of desires, if we feel that this is how I want to live, then there's no limit to, there's no end to the number of desires that we can have in life. In India, like in any tradition, there are always parables, stories, which help us relate and understand certain situations in life, isn't it? Especially philosophy. So this is a story of a shopkeeper in India. Typical India, let's say semi-urban India of the previous century. Shopkeeper. A rural setting. Well, there are only a few shops, a few facilities that provide you amenities, isn't it? Just last week, I was in a rural setting and I was not shocked, but I did kind of notice that the closest Walmart was like 8 miles away. And that was the closest store. The other stores are not even there. So I'm like somebody from the farm, if they need any amenities, they have to kind of plan everything for the week. They cannot every time like, okay, today I need this, so I go to the store. Isn't it? So shopkeeper, one shop, old age, the time has come. So on his deathbed, big family, couple of sons, daughter-in-laws, grandchildren, grown-up grandchildren, brothers, like a joint family. Then their children and grandchildren, so on and so forth. So huge gathering there because, hey, the old man is about to die. So everyone's there. So final stages, a little delusional, hallucinating, um, very much concerned about certain things in life. So he's like, where is my wife? So the wife says, I'm right here. Where is my son? My son says, I'm right here. So people are kind of wanting to pacify him that, please, you just focus on afterlife now. We are here. We'll take care of all that you have created here, all that you've established here in this life. Be assured that we are going to continue your legacy. Be satisfied. Don't worry about anything. They're trying to support him. Very supportive family. Help him pass away peacefully. So, where's the grandson? The grandson's here. Where's my daughter? The daughter's here. He's like, if everyone's here, who's at the shop? What about the prophet of today? Who's at the shop? So desires are something like that. It sometimes it kind of prevents us from seeing certain realities in life. Like, yeah, today I have, let's say, like a small time a person from a little village. Today, I have one packet of biscuits. If I eat it, I'll have nothing left with me. If I sell it, maybe I'll make some profit. From that profit, I could buy an extra packet of biscuits. And then I could be selling that. And then I could be making more profit. And then one day I'll buy my own farm. And then on my farm, I'll grow grains. I'll sell that in the market. I'll make profit. Then I'll have some farm animals, or I'll have some farm instruments. And as the person is thinking like that, the person feels that there are going to be situations where the neighbors are going to be envious. And the neighbors are going to try and hurt my business. And at that time, I'll take up the packet of biscuits and throw it at them. And how dare you hurt my business? And that is what he does. He has just one packet of biscuits. But becoming so much caught up with his desires, he doesn't realize that actually he may be hurting himself, or she may be hurting herself. So, kamam ashritya dushpuram. Every person who's true to themselves, they realize that discipline in life is needed. Why is that? It's not just, it's not a eureka moment that you kind of have some enlightenment. Yeah, we should be disciplined. Look around. Everything that exists follows a certain pattern. There's discipline there. Not the world around us is not simply an expression of people's unlimited desires. The flora, the fauna, everyone is trying to exist. Existence means you have to be very careful between your do's and don'ts. Survival means you have to understand your do's and don'ts. So when as humans, we get habituated to overlooking this innate pushing to accept do's and don'ts in our life. When we overlook that as humans, then it seems that we are calling for tragedy to fall on us. Isn't it? So this verse is just trying to help us understand how important it is to realize that desires are not very innocent, helpful objects. They have a certain characteristic. And what is the characteristic of desires? Desires will never, ever help us feel fulfilled in life. Now, immediately somebody is going to take this statement and feel that, hey, are you against desires? I never said that. I said, what is the nature of desires? What is the nature of a waterfall? It has force. That is one of the characteristics, isn't it? A waterfall has certain force. If you're not aware of the force, it could harm you. That doesn't mean that the waterfall is meant to harm you. We are not against waterfalls. Are we against waterfalls? No. But if we understand a certain characteristic of a particular existence, we know how to relate to that. Hence, we are not against desires. That is not what is being stated here. What is being stated is that desires per se never ever feel that anyone is qualified enough to fulfill them. They always leave a person more hungry than before. That is the understanding of the word desire, according to certain, or let us say, the philosophical understanding of the word desire. So how do we deal with desires? We cannot give up desires. So we have to learn to deal with desires, relate with desires in ways that are helpful. Today's verse is not about how to relate to them in terms that are helpful. Today's verse is explaining what happens when we relate to desires without using our intelligence, which is pushing us to consider the do's and don'ts. I'm not sure if you've experienced this, but sometimes I have had these moments in life when I'm on the freeway and I have to switch cars. Unfortunately, the car that I want to switch to is on the other side, and it's a turnpike. It has this huge divider in between. A wall, correct? Now there is something raw inside me that says, run across. That raw instinct is like, why waste time? Why look for an exit that's about 5 miles down the way? Because this is like that kind of turnpike, right? The car's right across there. Switch over, and the other party is also like, can you do it? Come on, if you can do it, run across. There is a possibility that I could make it. However, good sense would always want me not to take that risk. So, to be able to take that risk, I have to give up my training of being a person who understands discipline. Here, we may say that it's more helpful to be disciplined. Certain situations, it's more helpful to be adventurous. Like, hey, I haven't done CPR ever, but I have seen it on YouTube. And I'm the only person around here, and it seems this person needs CPR. So should I follow my practice of being very disciplined and not taking risks? Or should I take risks? So you see what intelligence does? It helps you understand do's and don'ts according to the particular situation. Yes. So discipline is not dogmatic. People think discipline is dogmatic. Whereas if you do what you feel you should be doing, that is being very free. That is freedom. Discipline could be dogmatic, or discipline could also be adventurous. It's how you use it, how you understand it. Yeah. Like if you're adventurous enough to take a jump out of an airplane, skydive, a bungee jumping. Before that, you have to kind of practice certain healthy techniques that keep you safe. You should know how to lock yourself with those gears. Correct? You should have a parachute on. Don't jump off without a parachute. So that kind of discipline is needed. The intelligence will still tell you that be careful, you're not a bird, you don't have wings. There is a possibility that the parachute could fail. Statistics are all stacked up. But then because you've followed certain discipline and you want to be adventurous, or certain rules of safety, you have adopted that, you could be adventurous in life. So again, I make the point that following discipline is not always dogmatic. It could be a healthy way of exploration too. Is that okay? Okay. So those who have always been distrustful because of certain reasons, people have distrust because of various reasons. Sometimes we think that people are just distrustful because the experience has been bad. There is amongst them, as I said, either ways could be dogmatic. The extremes both can be dogmatic. So there could also be this desire not to accept anyone's opinion and be very, very vocal of our own opinion and make people feel that our opinion is actually their opinion. Which again is how dogma gets established. So when people are too weak to streamline how they relate to desires in life, then it leads to certain, it develops certain characteristics within us, certain qualities. And what are those qualities? So that will be explained. Oh, the verse is all right. So that is explained further in this verse. Let me. Dambhamana madanvitaha. Dambha, mana, madanvitaha. So there are three qualities that are being mentioned here: Dambha, mana, and mada. Anvitaha, if you see for the word for word meaning, it means absorbed. So absorbed in Dambha, absorbed in mana, or absorbed in mada. Anvitaha means influenced by or colored by. Here it seems it's absorbed or immersed. So what is Dambha? Pride. Here pride basically means conceit. Mana, false prestige. That feeling where one feels that I'm better than others, and more importantly, others are lower than us. Not just that I'm better than others, but others are, they'll never be able to catch up to me. I mean, I'm God here, basically. These people are all dumb fools. They need a God. I am their God. So that is called as mana, false prestige. What is Dambha? Conceit. Conceit means I don't care for anyone except myself. I don't even need followers. I mean, what can you contribute to my life? The rest of you are simply, you're like insects in front of. That is called as conceit or Dambha. So Dambha, mana, and mada. Absorbed in conceit, here mada means illusion. Due to such conception of who one is in deep illusion. This illusion of grandeur, this illusion of being powerful. Like I snap my fingers, like in today's times, you snap your fingers and because of AI, everything turns on. You're like, my snap, and the lights turn on. My snap, and Alexa is ready to serve me. My snap, and there's some instrument there that is ready to serve my drinks, fresh drinks. Immediately, snap, 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 snap. And maybe we have a boil on the fingers, and now we try to snap, and the instrument cannot recognize the sound. And you're like, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What do I do now? Alexa doesn't respond to me anymore. What do I do now? The elevator is not opening. My door isn't opening. I'm locked out of my house. My car, I'm locked out of my car. Why? Because it felt so nice till the time, everything was working with this to the snap of my fingers. The body gets old. This is just skin. Things can change. Now what do we do? That is when we start feeling helpless again. No, it is not just my snap. It's the ability that was given to me for a certain time where I could snap my fingers. Now that ability is no longer there. What do I do? Sometimes a screen phone, that touch screen is not working. You're like so frustrated. You're so used to that. You just touch it and snap. You're so used to the fact that you just look at your instrument and it opens up because face recognition. And maybe you went for root canal and something changed. Something changed. Or maybe you just you had a good bath. And your machine is like, I don't recognize you anymore. Go back and get all the grime on your face again. Yeah. So a mother means the illusion that just with the snap of my fingers, I get things done. So when we take shelter of a lifestyle where we do what we feel, when we feel, how we feel, and that makes us feel free in life. These qualities are just waiting around the corner to haunt us. They're like, hey, dude, we could be good pals, Conceit says, hey, we could be good pals. False pride is like, you are the partner that I was looking for. My life, what is it called as? Soulmate. False pride says that we are soulmates. Yeah. Maybe this is also good for introspection. Because we are not just speaking of two classes of people in society. We are speaking of two kind of personalities that we would be exhibiting on a certain number of days in the week. It's like we have split personalities, Especially growing up, having siblings. It's like today, this person is, I have no idea why this person is being so good to me, my sibling. And today I hate my sibling. Split personalities. Then marriage, work. Hey, what happened to you today? What happened is desires hit us in the morning. As we woke up in the morning, we were swamped with desires. And we let our guard down. If the desires have been fulfilled, we are like, yes. Now on to the next one. And if that desire has not been fulfilled, everything that we interact with after we wake up is like, what happened to you, sour face? Like, what is this? Like you bang the door and the door is wondering, what did I do? I am the same. You throw away your keys like, you punch the tap, bam. You turn on the shower with all your passion. Suddenly it's in your hand. Things happen like that, right? Where did that person come from? Did you update your profile? No, you did not do that. Somebody did that. Desire. Either fulfilled or unfulfilled. And when a person becomes friends with these particular qualities, mohad grihitva sat grahan, one accepts a life of delusion. Sometimes what we called as a loser, the term a loser, basically that person is a loser. The understanding is that the person has accepted that this is how I feel helpless in life and there's nothing I can do about it. So delusion. And sometimes losers need not always be very docile and feeling helpless. Sometimes they can be very aggressive too. You know, aggressive people, and you say, you loser. So they've lost the plot. They've lost the plot of their life. Why? Mohad grihitva. They've accepted delusion to be their existence. Yes. And pravartante asuchi vrataha. And now their life, their habits, their acts, all are going to be unhealthy. Unhealthy means they'll be sick in mind and sick physically, physical sickness. Why is that? Because they are no longer being careful about following the healthy practices. So when we give up healthy practices and we accept unhealthy practices, that is called as asuchi. Suchi in Sanskrit means clean. Clean. Cleanliness gives you good health. Clean does not mean scrubbing everything away. Clean means trying to keep away all of that which is not good for you. That is what clean is about. How many of us think that cleanliness simply means scrubbing everything away? We think like that, right? But suchi, the idea of suchi is that you understand symbiotic relationships too and live with it. That is suchi, healthy. It's not about scrubbing things away. It is about maintaining the status quo, healthy status quo. So asuchi is the opposite of suchi. It means where we lose the plot and we allow ourselves or we open ourselves to pain, hurt, sickness. Dambha, where one derides everything else. That is dambha, arrogance or conceit. Then mana, false prestige, and mada, illusion because of this false pride. These habits generally bring in asuchi or unhealthy practices in life. Okay. Let me tell you another story, another parable. You know, every tradition, as I said, since I grew up in the tradition from India, therefore I have stories from India. So we always speak of these stories, stories with morals and lessons, specifically if it is about human society, we always speak that long, long ago, in the past, once upon a time. Okay. So once upon a time, when times were different, people were, let us say, they were happy being considerate with each other. I mean, really very considerate with each other. So this is a story of those times. In our tradition, we call those times as, today's times as Kali Yuga, a term for today's times, and those times as Dwapar Yuga. Basically, two different time frames in terms of what was the general quality of, or what was the general approach to life in society. So this is from those times, this story. There was a king. The king had two people approach him during the court time. The king was having his court, open court. So two people approached him. These were neighbors, great friends since childhood. So this story it goes across time zones. So there is a time called as Dwapar time, Dwapar Yuga, and there is a time called as Kali Yuga. And there is, in this story, that there's going to be transitioning from one time frame to another time frame. What it basically means that certain qualities will be more visible and certain qualities will disappear in society. All right. So that is to help us understand the story better. So two gentlemen approached the king. One gentleman says that me and my neighbor, we have always been friends. I bought his farm from him. And whatever was the remuneration I gave, that to him, paid for the farm, for that piece of land. And here are the documents. So the documents were submitted to the king. So the king looked at the documents, or he asked his officials to look at the documents, and everything was proper. So he says, all right, so is there a problem? You've come to court. He says, yes, there is a problem. I was cultivating the farm that I had bought from my neighbor. So I was trying to plow the field. My plow hit a box which was buried in that farm. I opened the box, it was full of diamonds. So I took out the box and went to my neighbor and I gave him his box. I said, this belongs to you. So the king said, so all right, that's good deed. So okay. He said, so what is the problem? He says, the problem is my neighbor is not accepting the box of diamonds. So the king asked the neighbor, why are you not accepting the box of diamonds? The neighbor said, because it is not mine, it is his. When I sold off my farm, I sold off all my rights to that farm. So the box belongs to him. So the king says, all right, so sir, you can take back the box of diamonds. The neighbors, the person who bought the land, he said, no, I cannot, because this box doesn't belong to me, it belongs to him. Because I just bought the farm. I did not buy all that is buried inside the farm. I did not pay for that. So the king is now wondering, what do I do? So the minister, he says, sir, please call them next week for your decision. So the king said, all right, we'll give the judgment next week. So the next week, the neighbors come. The king says, so did any one of you have change of heart? So the person who had found the box of diamonds, he says, I do not want to give the box of diamonds to my neighbor because it belongs to me. I bought the farm and anything that comes out of the farm is mine. And the other person says, sir, I sold him the land, but not the rights to that which is buried in the land. So the king looked at the minister and he said, how is this different from last week? He said, sir, times have changed. Last week was Dwapar Yuga, this week is Kali Yuga. Now, the stories of the past, they could either be stories or we could relate it to the past week that we had in our life. Did something interesting happen in your life last week? Where your perspectives were very different from what it is this week? Is that change of perspectives healthy, helpful? And if you need certain tips at what could be unhealthy, then this verse gives some tips as to what could be unhealthy in life. Okay, so we'll stop here. Any clarifications? Any questions? Concerns? Or feedback? Comments?
A very wonderful lecture. I have an observation based on what you were saying about desires leave you wanting more. So at Bhakti Yoga Club recently, we all went on a little picnic trip. And we had a wonderful time in the lake and the beach and everything. At the end, we all wanted to come back for more. So just thinking about that experience, like yes, we wanted to come back more. Every one of us felt like that. So how do we reconcile? We gave some tips, but I want to understand it.
So we went for an outing last week and we had fun at the lake. And towards the end, we wanted to come back, or we wanted to have similar experiences. How do we reconcile that? Well, look at your bank balance. It must have depleted. So if you have to go back, you need to work again. So now you have to figure out whether going back would be worth it, or would you want to try out something else? Is that helpful?
Yes.
Plus other perspectives are also there. We may have had fun. There are some people that are working hard to keep that place looking fun. Maybe they are looking for other jobs, although they are at the lake. So that's another perspective. Things are always fun when we have other people working for us, or other things working for us, where we can be served and feel that everything is being taken care of by someone, like my the money in my bank is taking care of the fun that I'm having right now. So it's a way of letting ourselves being pampered. Everyone likes being pampered, isn't it?
I don't. I was in India, in South India, in North India, in Nepal and Israel these last 2 months. I came back 2 weeks ago. And everybody wanted to pamper me, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like I stayed with a family in Thrissur, Kerala, and they didn't want me to take my plates away from the table, and I did. I insisted, and because I like to do things for myself.
That's true. So that's the other approach in life, where you kind of figure out your do's and don'ts. Discipline, isn't it? Yes. So there's one approach where we feel that we need more. So then we have to see at what would be needed to have more. So there again, you have to bring, till the time you are at the lake, you are not worrying about the do's and don'ts so much. But to do it again, you have to again lead some disciplined approach, or have some disciplined approach for a couple of days or for a few weeks. Or you could say that this is how much I would need, this is what I want, and maybe next time I'll figure out if I need it again or not. Two approaches, yeah? Yes.
Actually, the three gates of hell, lust, greed, and anger. And Krishna is explaining people of demonic nature. It's not talking about greed and anger.
Is he not? I think he is. Maybe the commentators are not.
I just remember lust and false prestige, pride, conceit. In that verse, he doesn't mention that these are the three gates of hell, and people going in this direction who belong to the demonic nature. So there's a link between these verses.
This is a conversation that he is having. So when people converse, they are trying to, express ideas and get those ideas across. When we try to analyze those conversations, we are doing something different. All right. The verse that you're speaking of does speak of these three qualities. So if you want, you can refer to that verse. When Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, he does speak of these three qualities, the verse itself. But then we are taking the verse as a standalone verse. Okay. So for analysis, if you want, you can do that. Why don't you pull it up? No, somebody can do that. Pull up that verse. Maybe
Which
what is
verse?
it? Kama krodhas tatha lobhas, something like that. Bhagavad Gita. Is it Bhagavad Gita? No, not Bhagavad. It is in the Gita. 16.21. Thank you. What was Trividham? Narakasyedam dwaram Nashanam Atman. See, Kama, Krodha, Tatha, Lobha. No, it is the verse. When I say, if you take this verse itself, see, Kama basically means desires or lust. Krodha, anger. Lobha is greed. And Naraka is, well, that is according to certain philosophical understanding, heaven and hell. Here it is just Naraka. The idea of Naraka in Vedic theology is very much different from certain other theologies. All right.
Prabhuji, does it happen that desire can lead to not unhealthy habits? For example, what Mahesh Prabhuji was saying, maybe that gathering was a place where people, got closer to Krishna.
Sure. When Mahesh, he expressed that, the expression was that it left them wanting for more.
So desire leads to inclination, want more, but that could be for good things, right? Good things as well.
It is. However, to have it again, you have to go back and work hard, because you spend some money to have that kind of ambience. So when
that's an example. For example, I rarely come to this meeting. Now, if I like it, maybe I come more. So that's also a desire.
Here there's discipline also. You kind of understood the do's and don'ts. No? So we never said when we were speaking, when we started off this conversation, this discussion, we talked about discipline too. The nature of desires is that it leaves you wanting more.
Right.
So you need to have discipline in life.
Right. The word desire has a negative connotation.
I never said that also. I didn't say that. I never said that. That doesn't, what does that mean that we have to give up desires? I specifically made that point. No. I said, I gave the example of a waterfall. Waterfall has force. That force typically in its raw natural existence hurts. However, if we have a disciplined approach to it, it could give us a different experience in life. True, right? So that is how desires are. Desires are not good or bad. Desires are desires. They're going to leave you feeling unfulfilled, wanting more. So if you have a disciplined approach to desires in life, then it could be healthy. If there's no disciplined approach in life, it could always make us feel wanting more, or feel hurt, or feel frustrated, or feel anxious. Okay. Yes.
So what happens when you don't have the proper approach? Can happen, right?
Then we're waiting for the flip of the coin. Whichever way the coin flips and lands, that is what we're going to experience. So should we wait for that, or should we try to see that we are prepared for the flip? Prepare ourselves for the flip. Yes. Let us prepare ourselves for the good or that which is not so good. Prepare.
Being responsible.
You could call it that. Yes.
Yeah, like the teenagers that sometimes they do things and they don't have the proper approach.
Even adults.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it? Both. Teenagers don't have the experience that adults have. That's the only difference. So when they start having experiences, they're no longer teenagers, they are now adults. Yeah. Yes.
Actually, wanted to understand the difference between lust and greed. Both are not satisfied if one person has that. But lust need not be always related to bodily things. As Krishna mentions in this verse, people conquered by insatiable lust. So you could have said insatiable greed. I want to understand the difference.
Maybe that is what the author intended. I'm not sure what the author intended. Sometimes they use an adjective for not just one object, but different objects, and they may not repeat the adjective for each object. All right. Desires itself. So if you're, as I, again, I would like to point out is sometimes certain meanings could be lost in translation. So if we understand desires as expression through physical, mental, psychological existences, then it would be helpful. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe one more just a clarification. The word delusion to me it is not very clear. What exactly is delusion?
Delusion is, it's like multiverse existence. We feel that there is another existence, we live in that existence. However, we do not have sufficient tools that will help us achieve certain goals in that alternate existence. That is delusion. That is my understanding of delusion.
It's different than illusion.
Technically, I think so. That is how the English dictionary kind of, it seems to be a synonym to a certain extent, but there are also some differences. Illusion is more on the mental plane. Illusion is when the mental plane is kind of expressed on the physical plane. So I can create an illusion for you. You imagine it. Or you could do that for me. However, I could be delusional and I start living that existence. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right.
You said like desires like can't be fulfilled. So
Sorry?
you said like with desires life can't be fulfilled.
Okay.
So desires won't be happening. A person with no desires will have a person with no desires will be in the old age. So in the while studying or in the early age, every person would have a desire to pursue in their career. So will the life be only be fulfilled at the later stage of the life, or it won't be possible to be fulfilled in the earlier stages?
Okay. Okay, let's try to understand what desires are. First, what I meant, if I made that statement, what you're saying, that desires leave life unfulfilled. If I made that statement, then I would like to correct it. All right. I think what I meant was, and maybe that is what I said was, desires leave you unfulfilled in life. It leaves you with this feeling that you want more. So there's a difference between the two statements. Yes. I'm saying what happens to our life when we let desires, when we live life based only on desires with no discipline. It leads to a lot of emotional turmoil, which is basically unfulfillment in life. You feel unfulfilled. You feel like I need more. I want more. Why is nobody giving me more? Where can I get more? So you don't look at what you have. You're always looking at what you need more. Because what you have is good. However, it brings out a feeling that you still lack more. So it always makes you look beyond the present, which is very unfortunate. One can have an understanding of what can be achieved in the future, or one can take lessons from the past. But life must be lived in the present. Yes. The other things we should kind of have the ability to let these flashbacks momentarily affect the present. Momentarily, it's like just things that facilitate your present existence. The past and the future, that is what I'm speaking about. Yeah. Okay. So it leaves you unfulfilled. Desires do not make life unfulfilled. That is not what I said. Or that is not what I mean. Okay. The difference is, there's a difference. Desires do not have an existence of their own, that they can make our lives this way or that way. They make us feel. So we are the people who accept desires, and we have made those choices. All right. Aspirations is what you're speaking about. So then you have to approach them. You have to have some plan how to approach those aspirations in life. And that is where discipline comes in. That is where you use intelligence, the do's and don'ts. Is that helpful? Okay. Okay. First you.
Maybe there are a lot of news or whatever on YouTube and other places about golden era coming. It's there for 10,000 years. I mean, what is the, I mean, is it going to come, or is it started, or what? I don't know. I don't understand. I just had it.
Well, let's hope that if it does come, then people can enjoy it. And if it is going to come in the future, people would be happy with it. Right now, we have work to do. Even if the golden era comes, still we have to work.
No, is it going to come? I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking. According to the scriptures.
See, when we refer to scriptures, there's always a tendency to be choosy about what scriptures say. Because being hopeful seems to be the thing, it's the kind of vibe that you want in life, being hopeful. Being hopeful is really very much needed. However, without a plan of how you're going to turn your hope into reality, is not helpful at all. So again, I said, if the golden era comes, or if it has come around now, in whichever way we think that scripture describes it, we have to go on doing our work. We have to go on contributing to the plan of the universe. The reason being, every other species is doing that. They're not waiting for, oh, the scripture is saying the golden era is coming. Do you think the deers, the birds, the aquatics, the plants, the blueberry, is it waiting for the golden era to come? Or wondering whether the golden era would come? It's doing its perfect, whatever contribution it can do In the scheme of things in this universe, it is contributing to that. Although its consciousness is not as much being expressed in terms of what humans can do, still it's contributing. So nature can be a wonderful teacher too. In fact, nature can be a scripture in itself too. Krishna says in the Gita, no? Yo mam pashyati sarvatra, sarvam cha mai pashyati. One who sees me in everywhere and in everything, and everything in me. Such a person is never lost to me, nor am I ever lost to him. So most probably, if we ask the other species, they'll say the golden era is right now here. Okay? It's for us to just perform in ways that is healthy for our existence and for contributing to the existence of other species in this universe. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Is it all right if, because she had raised up her hand prior, then I take your contribution here?
Prabhuji, how can we help people who are of this demonic nature? How can we help them?
Okay. First of all, I said that the word demoniac here is used, the meaning is a little different than what we in the present generation, the present times, 2021 understand it as. The word demoniac means those who are very distrustful of anything that is in a particular format, without even wanting to see if they can have a discussion about it. So what can we do to help them? Help ourselves. Maybe they like what we are doing and they will like, okay, this seems to be good. Yeah. If we do things which can create an attractive situation, people will come. Let's say, let me be poetic here. If we become flower-like and have a lot of fragrance, the bees are going to come. Isn't it? Yeah. At the same time, if they need help, if they call out for help, we should go. It's not like, hey, I'm a flower, you're a bee, you have to come here. Not like that. If they ask for help, we should help. And try not to disturb anyone's situation unnecessarily. Let us create a world, or let us create a scenario where they themselves feel they want to be a part of. Everyone feels that they want to be a part of. Yeah.
When you say that the desires leaves us unfulfilled, but I think when we have desires and we put efforts, and then if we achieve them, right, it also makes us feel satisfied, right? To some extent, that we have accomplished something, we wanted something, and we have put efforts, and we feel satisfied that we have achieved what we wanted, right? And then this can mean if, for example, there are certain things you want to do, you achieve it, and then it makes your life okay. We have achieved kind of, and we can now do whatever we want. We don't aim for certain things, we don't desire much, right? And I think when you desire for something that feels fulfilled and you put effort, then it makes your life easy, but it just won't make you desire more. Sometimes it's not always the case, right? I'm just making a point, right?
Okay, all right, that's a good point.
How do you relate to this when you say that
So,
desire leads to unfulfilled?
oh, the nature of desires is that it leaves you unfulfilled in life. That is the nature of desire. When you approach it with a plan, then you're handling that raw energy in particular ways. I never said that. Did I say that you should not handle desires? I said it's raw energy. It's really raw. There's a lot of force and power in it. So when you have a plan, what you said is that if I have a desire and I work for it, if I work and I get the results, I may be satisfied. So your work in relationship to the desires is giving the results, not the desires.
It's talking in the context when we say that if you achieve something that we desire for, we get to mind now the bigger desire, like the bigger desire. This is the kind of philosophy that we think of, right? That when your one desire is fulfilled, you look for something more, then something more. But this is not the case for all. I'm just making this not the case for all, right? If people achieve something, then they will be satisfied with what they have, right?
I never even said that. See, again, I'm not saying that if you approach work with discipline, it's going to leave you in a state of staticness. People think that being satisfied means being static. There's no dynamism anymore. And I wonder why. Why are always concepts only understood as binaries? There has to be an approach where we see that things can have an existence just as a universal whole, not as binaries. The whole picture. So if you are approaching your desires in a disciplined way, the next time it will help you relate to desires in a disciplined way only. What you're doing is you're cultivating a habit of discipline. However, if you think that desires happen at point A in time and it will be at point B, either it will be finished or not finished. Now that is static. It's a very static approach to what is dynamic life. Static is death. When I approach a particular desire at this point of time and I say, okay, I'll do this and I'll avoid that to get the result. If I don't do that, the desire is simply going to trouble me. And the flip of the coin will decide whether I'll be successful or not.
It's not always the flip of the coin, right? For example, if I don't work for the work I know for the desire and it goes unfulfilled, right? Then you try again, right? And then in our childhood, it's certain stories and all this that if you try 100 times, 1,000 times, you'll be successful if you try enough, right? And then this also, I'm just saying, if the lust or the desire is unsatisfied, it makes you also feel that, okay, you need to more effort, more something. I think that to have a desire and work for it,
Can I say something? No, like a desire, yeah, I think desire will lead to unfulfilled. Like you said, if you have desire and you are satisfied and you stop there, then that's what we're saying discipline, right? But it usually doesn't happen. Just, I will give my example. I was living in a townhouse and I wanted a house. I got a house. I thought, okay, I will be satisfied. I have a house, I will be satisfied. Oh, my neighbor's lawn is looking greener now. My lawn also looks greener. So I had that desire to have my lawn greener. Then I another desire, okay, they put something on their front yard, then okay, I also have to put on people. So this is how, getting a house, then if the desire comes in and then you do it. That's what I will give my example. It's never unfulfilled, like something or other thing is there. If you have a bigger house, then you say, oh, it's a lot of work. Let's move to another desire, let's move to townhouse again. So something like that. It will keep on coming and bothering you and it will be unfulfilled. If we stay there, then that's good. But in this Kali Yuga, I don't think it is possible. You keep on anchoring.
I have decided to buy a house like Kushbu.
Don't do that.
Yeah, I'm looking at it from the perspective that the personal desire is what we look around and then generate desire. For example, what I want is, for example, a personal aim, I'm just saying, right? That I have to climb Mount Everest. That's a desire, right? That would be a desire for somebody, right? And then that's a personal aim. If you put efforts to do it, that's like you feel accomplished, and then you then you tell your story. That's something you're accomplished, right? And your desire is fulfilled. I'm just looking from the perspective, not looking around. That would be
From my perspective, all of your contributions are valid. It's not that one is correct and the other is wrong, or the other is correct and the first one is a little better than the other one. It's not that. Again, I'll try to repeat what I said. Desires by nature leave you wanting more. If we have discipline in life, now we know how to approach desires in life. If you don't have discipline in life, then we have to wait for the flip of the coin. Because then whatever comes, comes. I may not be working, but if the government decides to give me unemployment check, what can I do? Understand? I may desire that I want to buy something from the store. I don't want to work. So if I don't work, will I get it? Possible, somebody may just give me a donation. But that is a flip of the coin. True? You understand that? Am I saying that desires have to be put off? No. I'm just saying understand what is the nature and characteristic of desires. If you know the art of handling desires, it is possible that you can live a life where desire is not handling you. You are handling desires. Which is a healthier way or healthier approach in life? Your choice. If you think the healthy approach is that desire is always bad, your choice. I'm not saying desires are bad. Did I say desires are bad? I said, didn't I give the example that sometimes being adventurous is needed? Always trying to think that, oh, these are the norms within which I'll function will not work. But even wanting to be adventurous, you need to have some discipline in life previously. Because if you don't do that, I'm going to jump out of this without knowing how to handle a parachute. Good luck to you. Flip of the coin. If you hit something that can save you, good. If not, then you're lost. But at least if you have gone through the practice of what is a parachute, how to handle it, how to work with it, be adventurous. Correct? So that is what I'm trying to say. How you take it is up to you. I'm not saying that my approach is what you have to take. I'm just trying to explain the options that are available before us, understanding what the message is being given in what we call as scriptures. These are teachings. Is that okay? So relate to it the way you want to relate to it. Make it relatable. That's it.
Can you give words on spiritual desires?
Desires, as any other aspect of life, can be used for evolving one's consciousness or could be used otherwise. So if it is used for evolving one's consciousness, it is called spiritual. If it is used otherwise, it is called not spiritual or material.
What is the nature of spiritual desires? Is it still not satisfying?
The nature of spiritual desires is that it gives you a realization of who the self is. It's if we try to think spiritual desires are slogans that we can put on our wall, then we are distancing ourselves from that which is spiritual. It's like, that is spiritual, I am here. But actually, this I am spiritual, and that is an expression of me being spiritual.
It's not flip of a coin. Spiritual desire, there is guarantee that you will achieve it.
Okay. If the government wants to give me spiritual benefits, what can I do? No, the flip of the coin is where we do not have a plan. Now, even if we have a plan, doesn't mean that we have everything sorted out. What we have sorted out is this here. We have tried to arrange this existence here as much as we can based upon our intelligence. We have no control of that outside of this here. All right. However, if I am not able to relate to this here and not able to manage this, my existence here, which is called a kshetra, and I'm called a kshetrajna. Purushottam Yoga, 15th chapter Bhagavad Gita. All right. If I'm not able to relate to this, then it becomes a flip of a coin, because that is going to work according to its plan. Okay. So I have to manage this here. Have a plan, understand certain do's and don'ts that I would like to accept in life. Is it okay? First him and then you? Yes. Because he was a split second earlier. I got that from him. Sorry?
Since Mataji asked the first question, Nikhil Prabhu has been waiting.
I'm so sorry. So sorry. Yeah. Please. No. Please do that. Please do that. Please let me know. I'm not all-knowing person. I'm so sorry.
Okay. So, what should be a devotee perspective towards desire? Is it okay to have desires, or like if I am saying, okay, I am a devotee, but I have a lot of desires. So how to control those desires, or there is a need to control desires or not? Like, I don't know anything. Should I control my desire? Should I see the desire in a different perspective? Like, how to see a desire?
So are we suggesting that by the word devotee, it means that somebody who has either through certain teachings or through certain experiences realized what is favorable and what is not favorable? Is that what we are saying? What is a devotee? Correct?
So how to know, like, okay, this is okay, we can have this desire or we cannot have this desire. How to differentiate between a good desire and a bad desire? What should be?
So that is somebody who's inquisitive. Or are we saying that a devotee still does not understand what is a good? See, the word devotee means devoted. It comes from devotion, no? To devote. So that is, therefore I'm trying to see, what do you mean when you say a devotee? Is it just like in India, you have names and it identifies certain things about you? Oh, Sharma ji, North Indian. Swami, South Indian. Fong Chok Chung, oh, must be Oriental. So what does the word devotee mean? My understanding of the word devotee is one who's devoted to this approach in life. This is favorable, and this is unfavorable. So already there's discipline. So if there's discipline, there is devotion. If there is some confusion about the do's and don'ts, then one is an inquirer as yet. One can be a devotee and an inquirer too. Doesn't mean a devotee stops inquiring. All right. An inquirer hasn't found as yet where to devote one's life forces to. So there we seek teachings or we seek experiences. We meet with people, we have discussions, we read, we understand, we express, exchange notes, like that. So that from this stage of being an inquirer, we find certain objectives that we would like to dedicate ourselves to. And then that dedication can become more concise and be called as devotion. Is that okay?
Yes.
Helpful? Did you have your hand raised? Do you want to say something about this? After him, then her, and then you.
No, just to like Mataji's question about spiritual desire at flip of a coin. So it can happen, right, Prabhuji? I come to some program just for prasadam, and then I get that somebody will give me the spiritual thing, and then I get the desire awakens, and I become disciplined in life.
Sure.
So
somebody can come to take prasadam also, and they may be happy to go to the Himalayas and practice some meditation. Somebody may come for prasadam and they can be inspired to open up a help center. So many things can come out of people feeling uh, uh, feeling grateful that they have received and now they have to give back. All right.
So probably coming back to the story that you told that about the gems, right? The two people find the diamonds, right? So one person sold the land and 5 gems, he gives back that. Then the opposite change to the view right after a week or something. So right now, if you look at the political affiliation in India or something like that, right? We see a trend where people or the politicians who offer freebies are being popular leaders, right? They have been appreciated by the masses that they are giving free things to the audience, to the public, right? Or for the first 5 years or something like that, and it becomes popular just because people are benefited from certain kind of offerings that the leaders have made, right? And we have seen another trend here, right? When there's another political party which says that you voluntarily leave your subsidies or you voluntarily leave the benefits that you are taking from the government. And then the masses are like, yes, we want to be self-dependent. We don't want to depend on the subsidies or the offerings or the freebies. We don't want this kind of politics, right? And there's another section of the people who don't want all these kind of things, right? So we see a certain kind of people who are not willing to accept certain things that are free, but there are certain section of people who want still in the society, they want, okay, we want something that is free, right? So we see a mix of Kali-yuga and Dwapara kind of situation here, right? So how do you see this kind of situations in political as well as individual perspective?
There is the right-wing approach to a situation, there is a left-wing approach to a situation, and there is a centrist view to the same situation. So if any of the polarizing wings becomes more prominent, then there may be a need for a counter polarization for some time so that the centrist view can again be taken up. Centrist view means where we understand that there will be a section of society who would want to contribute, and there will be a certain section of society who for certain reasons would want to contribute, and another section of society who for certain reasons would want to receive. That is a centrist approach. So there could be various factors why somebody can contribute and somebody would be receiving. So that is a centrist approach. So there always has to, it is going to always be going to be dynamic.
So I'm just making this. People who don't want to leave subsidies also, just because they are affiliated to certain ideology or party or something, they are feeling obliged that they have to do it, even if they are not feeling well about it, that they are going to leave subsidy. But since other people are looking at that, you themselves are not doing what your leaders are saying, then how you expect others to do it, right? So people are unwillingly doing certain things that they are not.
Okay. In all the three approaches, there is going to be dissemination of knowledge. It can be propaganda, you can call it. It can be their ideologies, you can call it, in all the three approaches. Hence, the typical answer would be to make people aware. People are already aware because there's dissemination of certain information taking place in all the approaches, right? What is a centrist approach? The centrist approach is to balance both so that one, it avoids polarization. What happens with polarization is that there's always going to be a dissatisfied party. Now, if everyone says that, you have to contribute through your hard work or whatever, aren't there going to be a dependent class? Is this going to be a utopian society? In this society, is there any room for socialism in the way socialist thought is? Because socialist thought understands that there are going to be various, everyone is equal, but there are going to be some grades. Why? Because people don't have similar capacities, right? So if we take that approach, are we taking into consideration that some people, for certain reasons, it could be health, psychological approach, at certain places where they are little helpless. It is not just that they are only wanting to be lazy. Those who want to be lazy take benefit when that propaganda is more. So the centrist approach is that. The centrist approach is to see that, or to have a centrist approach is to see that if one, let us say, the right becomes more powerful and left is pushed down, then bring it to the center again. If the left is more powerful and the right is pushed down, then bring it to the center again. So how to bring it to the center again? If one side goes up, counter propaganda has to be increased. So in counter propaganda, we are like, should subsidies be given, or should people, or everyone pay their taxes? Let's see, centrist approach. We have to see which is a more powerful voice. How knowledge can be disseminated. Because in every field, knowledge will be, in every approach, knowledge is being disseminated. Yes.
We do have a problem of freedom of speech in this country where certain views have been banned from Facebook, from Twitter, from Google. So you cannot balance unless there is a freedom of expression. And you cannot balance if you don't have rights to defend yourself, First and Second Amendment of the US Constitution. So this question of the politics needs to be addressed to the US Constitution in this country.
Thank you. Is that okay?
How to identify hidden desires?
Work with those that are revealed desires first, because it's easy to do that, no?
Unless you fall in the trap, you won't realize it was your desire. Unless
Sure.
you don't experience that it was not good,
Hmm.
you won't realize it was your hidden desire. So I want to know, even before falling in the trap, how to be aware what's happening within you.
Yeah. That search for the submerged land of Atlantis. Utopia, isn't it? No, we have to be practical, pragmatic people also sometimes. Being hurt definitely could be a setback. At the same time, it could help you build up a stronger physical, mental, psychological immunity. Or it could open up so many different avenues of work or approach that you may not have considered. Okay. Yeah. So we'll stop.
I have a very strong desire for prasadam. I'm just echoing other. Whoever has a hidden desire to eat prasadam, so.
Yes.
Should we do 10 minutes kirtan?
Yes, yeah, very short kirtan and then we'll have prasadam. So big haribol to an amazing class today.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.